President Martin Harvier from the Salt River Pima-Maricopa Indian community. This is his second term. He's just recently been inaugurated into his second four-year term. First elected to presidency in 2018, but served 12 years as vice president, so 3 previous terms. So this is a wealth of elected leadership experience that you're going to get from him. But I think one of the things to also notice about his resume is that he's really actively engaged in economic development as well. He serves as the chair of the Talking Stick Golf Enterprise, and he's on the board of directors for the Salt River Materials Group and Salt River Landfill. I wanted to get that right. But he's also really engaged intergovernmentally. So he's part of the Tribal Health Steering Committee for the Intertribal Council of Arizona, and also serves on something that's a pretty special organization within the greater Phoenix area, the Maricopa Association of Governments Regional Council. So those are just some elements of his CV that I wanted to highlight. So when he speaks, I mean, think about the things that he represents, not just the elected leadership, but engagement in intergovernmental work and also on economic development.
Well, first of all, again, it's an honor. I'm grateful for this opportunity to participate in this event. And I'm going to ask a question. How many are current tribal leaders for your respective tribes that are here? Council member? Oh, a lot of you. Well, again, welcome, and I'm grateful for this opportunity. First of all, I want to put out there, in being elected as the vice president back in 2006, I want to share with you how I got elected. The day of nominations for the office of vice president and president happened at 6 o'clock on a Tuesday evening. At 2 o'clock that day, I got a call from a committee member asking if they nominated me, would I accept the position. Now that's 2 o'clock, the day of nominations. Hadn't heard anything prior to that at all. So first of all, I said, you know what, I'm honored for you even thinking about me as for the office of vice president, but I said, I have to call my wife. So I tried to call my wife. My wife didn't respond back until about 4 o'clock. Now, mind you, the nomination's at 6 o'clock. So at 4 o'clock, she called me back. Now, my wife was a former council member. She served 4 years and decided not to run again. And I explained about the call. And she said to me, well, let me ask you a question. Are you ready for all the late night meetings you're going to have to attend? Are you ready for all the travel that you're going to have to take? Are you ready for all of the events that you're going to miss with your children and your grandchildren? Are you ready for some of your best friends to turn their back on you because of a decision that has been made at the council level? She goes, because if you are, I'll support you. So I got back on the phone after I thought about it for a while, and I called the individual back. And before I could say a word, the words came out of their mouth, hey, we asked somebody else, and they decided to accept it. So I was kind of in and out within 4-hour span. But I wanted to go just to see how that process went, because I had never been to a nomination meeting. And attending the event, as we were sitting there, they talked about the process. Introduce yourself and who you're nominating. And that election year, there was 6 people that got up. And the first person nominated the current vice president. The second person that got up, and I knew who it was, and I thought they were going to nominate a certain individual because they were the same family. And so I was kind of looking somewhere else, and they said my name. And it took me by surprise, and I kind of leaned back, and I asked my wife, I said, did she say me? And she said, yeah. And I said, well, don't they talk to their other family members? I don't know. You got to ask them. Anyway, the process goes, you get nominated, you get your paper, you fill it out, and if you accept, you got 24 hours to say so. I accepted. I went through the whole process, and to be honest with you, I didn't think I had a chance of being elected the vice president. And the ending results, we have 2 districts here, the Salt River District 1 being the larger district, District 2 and Lehigh. I was ahead of the second candidate by 11 votes on the Salt River side, but it was the Lehigh district where I had over 100 more votes than the second individual. And that's how I won the vice president. And I say sometimes, even when you go to school, they'll say, hey, just show up. Well, you know what? I showed up to the nomination meeting, didn't think I was going to even be part of it, and I ended up being the vice president. So getting into politics, it's nothing that I ever dreamed that I would be serving as a political leader for our community. Never thought about it. But some of the things that I think that I've experienced as a tribal leader, and more specifically, I think most of you can agree, is going through this pandemic that we went through. Very difficult. And a lot of it had to do with the processes that were in place. And I'll tell you, there was a lot of pressure that other tribes were doing that some of our members of our community said, well, why aren't we doing that? Why aren't we shutting our roads off and not allowing anybody to come into our community except our members? Well, here in our community, if you look at the setup of the community, the freeway, which is just west of here, that was planned by one of our former presidents in putting and locating that freeway in an area to create an economic development that was kind of west of the community and did not encroach kind of the homes or that part of the community. So when you have developments and businesses that are part of your community, and now you're enforcing mandates on wearing masks, and you got people that come from the outside to visit your businesses, and you're saying, hey, you have to wear a mask to come into this store. And if they don't follow it, then you got a community member that goes visit that store, and they see others that aren't wearing it. Who gets the heat? It's the elected officials, because you're not calling the police on every incident that you face that happens. So that was a very difficult decision that we made as far as the mandate. But what was part of that was this facility. And I'm not sure how many of you are gaming tribes, but we call this facility here and our one just south of here kind of the golden goose that lays the golden egg that we're able to provide and what generates the income needed to provide services to our members. The difficult decision was, how do we help in trying to stop the spread of the virus? And it was a decision that was made. We shut this facility down and our other one for over a month. That's a lot of income that just stopped. The spigot stopped. What was frustrating is that we reach out to our governor of the state at that time, and we ask, is there a way that we can work of trying to get some of the tax dollars that leave this community? Right now, all of the development that you see in our community, any retail that happens, there's a 1.65% tribal tax on everything that is sold here. The rest of the 7-point-something% leaves the community. The transaction privilege taxes, they leave the community. We don't benefit from that. It leaves, the state gets it, the surrounding cities, they utilize that. They utilize that mostly for their first responders, their police and their fire. All we asked was the governor during this time, as we're trying to do our part, can we talk about maybe getting some of those taxes to help us get back, what we put into what we did as far as shutting it down. We didn't lay any of our employees off here at the casino or at our government. They continued to get paid. And so those were some of the things, challenges that we face and tough decisions that we had to make. And it was very frustrating when the governor of the state said, oh, there's federal programs that is going to give you funding to help in those areas. And then when we get the CARES Act, all the strings that were tied to it that didn't help. And I'll just say I was truly grateful for the Biden administration for, following that up with the relief funds that came out that we could actually help in that area. But that was a really difficult decision that we made here in the community. It was during the pandemic, how we dealt with it with our members and what we had to do, especially in running our operations here, to do our part here locally in this area to help kind of contain that virus that was being spread. I guess some of the other areas that becoming an elected official that kind of surprised me that I didn't know, and I share this all the time with our new employees that come through part of their orientation. They come and meet the president, vice president. I said, before I became elected official, I worked as a government employee. I'd work for 2 weeks and get paid on Friday. By Monday, I'm broke, and I'm working 2 more weeks to try to get paid again. And it didn't think anything about what was going on with the tribal council. It wasn't an interest. I just was a community member. But getting into office, it really surprised me, and kind of talked about it, the agreements that we as community, and again, it's because of our locations and things that we're able to do because of our location and operating some of our enterprises. Just for example, we talked about the landfill. We have agreements with the surrounding cities that they're going to bring their trash out here for a certain period of time, whatever those contracts, and we have to honor those agreements. When we talk about closure of our landfill, we have to remember, hey, we signed agreements with the surrounding cities that we have to honor those. So I didn't realize the connection that we have with our surrounding cities and operating a lot of the things here. So that was really kind of surprising to me in operating business. We talk about sovereignty, and I'll just be honest, it might offend somebody, but I always feel like they give us enough sovereignty, but we're truly not sovereign. It's like, again, this facility, I look at a true sovereign nation just south of us, of Mexico. If you go do something wrong, they're going to keep you there, and you're going to pay the price. If something happens here, a lot of times we don't have jurisdiction over any of the non-natives if we do not have our court system set up the way they want it to be set up. This gaming facility, it almost seemed like as a tribal sovereign nation, we should be able to build a facility, put machines in here and operate it, and it's ours. Nope, that's not the way it works. You got to work with the state to see what they'll allow you to operate within your facilities and how much they want from you operating your facilities. So that's when I say we have sovereignty, but not true sovereignty. And that's kind of frustrating as a tribal leader to kind of feel that way. I do feel the limited waiver really kind of exercises your authority, though, as a sovereign tribe, and I think that's important in certain areas and the protection that it provides. So those are kind of the surprising things as an elected official that, coming into this job. Were there the other one was, is there topics that I had to play catch up on? A lot. Financial, the tribal councils, every year, we just finished up approving the fiscal year budget for next year. Our fiscal year budget this year is $265 million. That's for all the departments that we serve. And so not knowing even how to read a financial statement that comes from departments when they're requesting things and how much it costs and how much you have to work with, you have to understand, where the dollar is kind of, and really to me, you look at it about where do your streams of money coming from? Like I said, we have this facility here, which is the main stream of income that we base our budget on. Those tax dollars that come in, to be honest with you, we've never touched those tax dollars for the purpose of utilizing for government services. We've always relied on our gaming facility to, create the budget for our government services that we provide to our members. But those are some of the things that you have to learn and know is how do you work a budget to make it sure it fits. And a lot of times throughout the year, there's a request that come in. Well, where do you get that money when the budget's already been set? Well, now you're looking at individual department budgets where maybe they haven't filled positions. Now you're being asked, well, can we move these dollars over here to provide the income we need to do this. And so those are a lot of the things that I had to learn as far as working with those that we have entrusted and working with our government. And I'll be honest, most of our leadership as our treasurer, our community manager, they're not tribal members. These are outside individuals that come and they work here, and they've been here. Our community manager has been here over 30 years. So before I even became the vice president, he was already here, and he does a great job. And I think that's one of the main things too, those that you have. And I know we all want our members to be in those leadership positions, but you want to make sure you have the best ones that you have in those positions in helping make decisions. And again, ultimately, a lot of these decisions is the tribal council. Your treasurer, your general counsel, they can give you all the information and advice they want, but ultimately it's going to come back to the elected officials and making a decision on what you think is the best in moving forward and whatever that may be. Is there anything you wish you would have done differently? You know, I think about growing up, and that's before the computer came along. I would buy the newspaper, and I would take out one section out of that newspaper, and that was the sports section, and I threw the rest away. All I cared about was who won the game the night before. I didn't care about what was going on in the state or the federal level. I just didn't have that interest. My interest was who won the game. You know, and again, I never thought I would be in this position. If there's anything that would give me that thought that one day that I would be the president or vice president or a council member of a tribal community, would have kept the rest of that newspaper to find out what's going on in the world, what's affecting our state, what's affecting the tribes. And I found out you just can't do something. You can't go and try to change a bill through Congress until you find out, how does it affect the other tribes? You really got to think about process when you do it. You don't want to do something that's going to affect another tribe, maybe what they've done or what they're doing. And so those are some of the things you got to think about. So again, I would really think I would have tried to concentrate more on federal law, finances, a lot more, knowing where I'm at now. I don't think it would have been such a difficult process or a stressful process in that, trying to learn some of these areas. The other question based on experience, what skills, values, and knowledge do leaders need to possess in order to lead effectively? I think we talked about it. All of these areas are important to lead. You know, I'll just say, I was asked the question, why do people vote for me or vote for you? I was asked that question. I said, I don't know. I really don't know. I have a high school diploma. That's the education I bring to the table. And every time we have our meetings for nominations, I put that out there. My education is a level high school level. Everything I've done prior to becoming the vice president, I started out at positions where I was at the lowest level. I worked at a sand and gravel plant where I shoveled dirt all day. And it's very frustrating to see a lot of times in the area I worked where an opening would come up and I feel like, hey, maybe I'll get moved up, and they bring somebody else in to fill that position. And it's not like because I couldn't do it, it's because I didn't have that piece of paper to say I'm certified or I went to school to do that. And that's what was very frustrating to me when I worked in those lower level jobs. And that's why today I promote education. I really feel education is important for our young people. We just took a trip, I mentioned, to Thon-Autumn. And I think we're trying to do everything that we can here to give our young people the best opportunity when they leave our school system in going across the street. And that's what we say, because tribal government's not going to be able to provide all the jobs for all of our members. So they have to be prepared to go across the street. And every year here, I'm not sure how many high schools that we have in this area, but every high school every year has 4,000, just for example, students that graduate every year that are now going to be vying for those jobs that are out there. And I want to make sure that our members are at the table when those opportunities come and going for those jobs. I'll just say I'm very impressed with the chairwoman. One of the things as a tribal leader too, you can't go somewhere and represent your tribe and not say anything. If you've been sent there for a purpose to deliver a message, deliver it. I've been to so many meetings where I see tribal leaders are just there and they don't say a word. And you wonder, why are they here? Why did they come all this way and not say a word? I know this lady stands up at NCI, and whoever's there makes sure that they know why she's there. And I've always appreciated that. And so as an elected official, don't be afraid to open your mouth, because you're speaking for the people that you represent, and that's why they put you there. So I think that's always important as a tribal leader, to make sure your voice is heard. So thank you. I'll give a minute up here. I got 1 minute left. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate those